The vast observation deck of the Kraxan flagship Dominion gleamed under the light of Earth's sun. Supreme Commander Vexthor stood with his 4 arms clasped behind his back, crystalline eyes fixed on the blue planet below. His subordinates maintained a respectful distance, their scaled forms casting long shadows across the polished floor. Another primitive world, Vexthor declared, mandibles clicking in disappointment. Barely 3 centuries of powered flight, and they dare to claim ownership of their solar system's resources. The analysis officer, Korath, brought up a holographic display of human diplomatic messages. They are, insistent, Supreme Commander. Their latest communication demands we cease mining operations in their asteroid belt. Vexthor's crystalline eyes flickered in amusement. The Kraxan Empire had encountered countless species across their 1,000-year expansion. All eventually learned their place in the cosmic hierarchy. These humans would be no different. Send them our standard response, he commanded. We acknowledge their claim but require resources for the greater good of galactic civilization. Offer them our standard compensation package. Supreme Commander, Korath hesitated, secondary breathing vents pulsing with anxiety. Their messages contain unusual phrases. They speak of lines in the sand and final warnings. The linguistic analysts suggest these may have cultural significance beyond dash. Enough, Vexthor cut him off. I've read the reports on their military capabilities. Primitive chemical rockets. Projectile weapons. Limited space presence. They are children playing at warfare. He turned to face his subordinate, towering over the smaller Kraxan. Deploy the mining fleet. Double the extraction quotas. In the weeks that followed, massive Kraxan mining ships descended upon the asteroid belt, their quantum drills tearing through rock and ice with devastating efficiency. Human protests grew increasingly forceful, then suddenly ceased. Vexthor took their silence as submission, just as countless species had done before. He could not have been more wrong. Deep within secure facilities across Earth and its colonies, humanity had been far from idle. In hardened bunkers beneath the Martian surface, Dr. Sarah Chen studied readings from sophisticated sensors aimed at Kraxan mining operations. Her team had spent months analyzing every aspect of alien technology they could observe. Their quantum drill signatures are consistent, she reported to the United Earth Defense Council. We've mapped the frequency patterns. The countermeasure prototypes are ready for testing. Similar reports came in from facilities worldwide. Weapons research labs had reverse-engineered Kraxan shield frequencies. Propulsion experts had developed new drive systems based on observed principles. Each human breakthrough was carefully concealed behind a facade of primitive technology. Admiral James Rodriguez, commander of Earth's primitive defense fleet, stood before the council with quiet confidence. The Kraxan believe they're dealing with a pre-spacefaring civilization, he stated. Their arrogance is their weakness. Our ships maintain their crude external appearance, but beneath those shells. He smiled grimly. We're ready. The council's vote was unanimous. After 6 months of apparent submission, humanity would show the Kraxan Empire exactly what they had ignored. On mining outpost K-227, Overseer XKAL was the first to notice something wrong. The quantum drill's harmony suddenly shifted, its energy patterns disrupted by an impossible interference. Before he could investigate, proximity alarms screamed to life. Human ships emerged from behind asteroids and debris fields, their hulls no longer disguising their true nature. Weapon systems that should not exist opened fire with devastating precision. Shields that had protected Kraxan ships for centuries collapsed under carefully calibrated attacks. Vexthor received the distress calls too late. The humans had spent months mapping every mining outpost, studying every patrol route, and analyzing every weakness. Their strike was simultaneously launched across the entire asteroid belt, a devastating demonstration of tactical precision. As the Supreme Commander watched his mining fleet burn, a transmission cut through all Kraxan frequencies. The human admiral's voice was calm, almost conversational. "We warned you about lines in the sand. Consider this your education in human idioms. Lesson 1, we don't make empty threats." The last thing Vexthor saw before the Dominion's bridge erupted in flames was a human vessel performing maneuvers his best pilots would have considered impossible. In his final moments, he realized his empire had made a catastrophic mistake. They had assumed humanity's warnings were the protests of the weak. They had failed to recognize them for what they truly were, the courtesy of the strong, offering one last chance to avoid devastation. The Kraxan Empire was about to learn exactly why that was a fatal mistake. In the months leading up to humanity's strike against the Kraxan mining fleet, Earth's preparations had been anything but idle. The secret facilities beneath Mount Cheyenne had become the epicenter of humanity's technological revolution, where Dr. Chen's team worked tirelessly to transform theoretical breakthroughs into weapons of war. "Show me the latest test results," Dr. Chen demanded, her holographic displays filling the air with streams of data. Her colleague, Dr. Marcus Webb, manipulated the quantum interference patterns with practiced ease. "The Kraxan shields operate on a base frequency we've fully mapped," Marcus explained, highlighting a particularly complex wave pattern. "Their technology hasn't evolved in centuries because they've never needed it to. Complacency is our advantage." Deep in the facility's testing chamber, a salvaged piece of Kraxan hull plating floated in a containment field. The shield technology protecting it had once been considered impenetrable. Now, it shimmered under the assault of precisely calibrated energy pulses, its defenses failing in exactly the way humanity's scientists had predicted. Admiral Rodriguez stood watching from the observation deck, his weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass. "How many ships can we outfit with these countermeasures?" he asked. "All of them," Sarah replied with quiet confidence. "We've simplified the production process. Every vessel in the fleet will be ready within 2 weeks." But weapons were only part of humanity's silent revolution. In orbital shipyards disguised as crude maintenance facilities, engineers had been incorporating advanced propulsion systems into existing hull designs. To any Kraxan observer, Earth's ships appeared to lumber through space on chemical rockets. In reality, each vessel now housed engines that could match or exceed alien capabilities. The deception extended to every level of human space presence. Mining operations that appeared to use primitive extraction methods concealed quantum sensors studying Kraxan technology. Civilian communications satellites doubled as a vast intelligence network, mapping enemy movements across the solar system. Commander Diana Patel oversaw the fleet's combat training from the lunar base Sierra. Her pilots practiced maneuvers in simulators programmed with data gleaned from months of Kraxan observation. "They fight like they've never faced a real challenge," she told her squadrons. "Every move is textbook, every response predictable. We won't have that limitation." The Kraxans' greatest weakness had proven to be their absolute certainty in their own superiority. They broadcast their communications with minimal encryption, convinced that no primitive species could possibly intercept or understand their transmissions. Human linguists and cryptographers worked around the clock, building a comprehensive understanding of Kraxan tactical doctrine and command structures. In a secured wing of the Cheyenne facility, Dr. Yuki Tanaka led the effort to crack the aliens' quantum computing systems. "They haven't updated their security protocols in over 50 years, she reported to the Defense Council. "They use the same quantum encryption keys across their entire network. Once we breach one system, we breach them all," finished Admiral Rodriguez. "How close are we?" Yuki's smile was sharp. "We already have. They just don't know it yet." Meanwhile, humanity's diplomatic corps continued their carefully choreographed performance of ineffectual protest. Ambassador Michael Collins delivered impassioned speeches of protest to the Kraxan leadership, each word carefully chosen to reinforce their belief in human weakness. The Kraxans' responses grew increasingly dismissive. They reduced their token compensation offers. Their mining operations expanded. Their patrols began straying closer to Earth's inner system colonies. Each transgression was meticulously documented, each provocation added to the growing list of justifications for what was to come. In his private chambers aboard the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Rodriguez reviewed the latest readiness reports. The fleet was nearly prepared. The weapons were tested. The crews were trained. Yet he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity was about to make its first deliberate strike against an alien civilization. "Computer, play the latest intercept from mining station K-227, he commanded. The room filled with translated cracks and voices, overseer to worker, "These humans are like hatchlings, crying about territory they can't even properly use. The Supreme Commander says we should increase quotas again. Show them their place." Rodriguez closed his eyes, letting the casual contempt in the alien's voice wash over him. In all their history of conquest, the Kraxan had never encountered a species that had hidden its true capabilities so completely. Their assumption of superiority had become a blindfold of their own making. Dr. Chen's voice came through his secure comlink, "Admiral, final systems check is complete. All ships show green on the new weapons platforms. Quantum disruption fields are operating at optimal efficiency. And the stealth systems? Better than we hoped. Their sensors still read our ships as primitive craft. The masking technology is holding perfectly." Rodriguez opened his eyes, studying the holographic display of Earth's solar system. Kraxan mining ships moved through the asteroid belt like hungry predators, their quantum drills tearing through space rocks with impunity. Soon, very soon, they would learn the cost of their arrogance. "Begin final preparations," he ordered. "Distribute the attack plans to all fleet commanders. Remind them, radio silence and complete emissions control until the signal is given. We get one chance at a synchronized strike." Across the solar system, humanity's forces moved into position with deliberate patience. Ships hidden behind asteroids powered up their masked weapons systems. Stealth drones took up final observation posts. The net was nearly ready to close. In his private log, Rodriguez recorded one final entry: "The Kraxan Empire believes they are dealing with primitives who don't understand the power of their technology. They are about to learn that understanding their technology and choosing not to reveal that understanding are very different things. May whatever gods they believe in have mercy on them, because humanity's patience has run out." The signal that launched humanity's counterattack wasn't a dramatic broadcast or a thunderous declaration. Instead, it was a simple quantum pulse, barely distinguishable from background radiation. But across the solar system, Earth's hidden fleet awakened to its call. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDS Hyperion, his flagship's true capabilities finally unveiled. Gone was the crude exterior that had fooled Kraxan observers for months. The ship's hull now gleamed with active quantum matrices, its weapons ports revealing technology that matched or exceeded anything in the alien arsenal. "All battle groups report ready," Commander Patel announced from her tactical station. "Stealth systems disengaging. Weapons hot." Rodriguez nodded, his voice steady. "Execute Operation Thunderstrike." Across the asteroid belt, human ships emerged from their hiding places like wolves from shadow. The Kraxan mining fleet, spread thin across their operations, never stood a chance. Human vessels appeared simultaneously at every major mining site, their weapons precisely calibrated to the frequencies that would bypass Kraxan shields. On mining station K-227, Overseer Zexkal watched in horror as 3 ships he dismissed as primitive human scouts suddenly transformed before his eyes. Their hull configurations shifted, revealing weapon systems that his sensors couldn't even properly classify. "Impossible," he whispered, moments before precision quantum beams sliced through his station's defenses like they didn't exist. The battle, if it could be called that, was devastatingly one-sided. Humanity had spent months studying every aspect of Kraxan technology, while the aliens had never bothered to truly analyze human capabilities. Their arrogance had left them blind to the threat until it was too late. Dr. Chen monitored the engagement from her command center beneath Mount Cheyenne. The quantum disruption fields are performing above expectations, she reported. Cracks in shields are failing across all engagement zones. The human attack had been choreographed with surgical precision. Key communication nodes were taken out first, preventing the scattered Kraxan forces from coordinating their response. Mining stations found their quantum drills suddenly turning against them, their own technology weaponized by human understanding of their operating principles. Commander Patel's fighter squadrons demonstrated maneuvers that shocked their Kraxan opponents. Human pilots, trained in simulators using months of observational data, knew exactly how the aliens would respond to each situation. They drove their ships through impossibly tight turns, their new engines matching and exceeding Kraxan capabilities. Battle Group Theta reports their sector cleared, announced Commander Patel. Battle Group Omega has secured the outer mining zones. No Kraxan vessels have managed to escape the containment net. But the true masterstroke of Operation Thunderstrike wasn't just military. As the battles raged, Dr. Tanaka's cyber warfare teams struck at the heart of Kraxan command and control. Their compromised quantum networks became a weapon against them, feeding false data to reinforcement fleets and scrambling coordination efforts. Supreme Commander Vexthor, watching from his flagship Dominion, finally realized the full extent of his species' miscalculation. The humans hadn't been failing to understand Kraxan technology, they had been studying it, improving upon it, and preparing to turn it against its creators. Send the surrender signal, he ordered, his crystalline eyes dimmed with the recognition of defeat. Before they dash. His words were cut short as the Hyperion decloaked directly in front of his flagship. The human vessel's quantum matrices pulsed with energy that his sensors insisted couldn't exist in such a primitive species' possession. Admiral Rodriguez's voice came through on all frequencies, Supreme Commander Vexthor. You were warned. You were given explicit boundaries. And you, in your arrogance, chose to ignore them. Now, you will witness the consequence of that choice. The Hyperion's main weapon array came online, its energy signature unlike anything the Kraxan had ever encountered. It was human technology, built upon understood alien principles but taken in directions the Kraxan had never imagined. Wait. Vexthor called out. We can negotiate dash. That time, Rodriguez replied calmly, has passed. The Hyperion fired. Its quantum-enhanced beam passed through the Dominion's shields as if they were vapor, cutting the massive flagship in half with surgical precision. The explosion lit up the asteroid belt like a new sun. Across the solar system, the remaining Kraxan forces watched their supreme commander's ship die. One by one, they began broadcasting surrender signals. In the aftermath, as human ships secured their objectives with mechanical efficiency, Admiral Rodriguez recorded a message for Earth's Defense Council: Phase 1 is complete. The Kraxan mining fleet is neutralized. Their command structure is in chaos. But more importantly, we've shown them what happens when they underestimate humanity. Phase 2 can now begin. Dr. Chen's voice came through his private channel. Admiral, we're detecting quantum communication bursts from the edge of the system. The Kraxan Empire's main fleet has been notified. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Good. Let them come. Thanks to their own arrogance, we now understand their technology better than they do. And unlike them, we haven't stopped innovating. Operation Thunderstrike had been more than a military victory. It was a statement to the galaxy: humanity would not be underestimated again. And any species that tried would face the full consequences of their mistake. News of the Dominion's destruction spread through the Kraxan Empire like a shockwave. In the grand halls of the Imperial Palace on Kraxos Prime, the High Council gathered in emergency session. Their crystalline chamber, normally a symbol of unwavering power, now echoed with voices of panic and disbelief. High Counselor Rezeneke's voice cut through the chaos. How? How did a primitive species hide such capabilities from us? The holographic display before them showed the devastating efficiency of humanity's attack. Our mining fleet, destroyed. Our shield technology, bypassed. Our encryption, broken. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Rodriguez coordinated with the planetary defense grid as the first waves of the Kraxan Empire's retribution fleet appeared at the system's edge. But this time, humanity was ready. There would be no element of surprise on either side. They're deploying in standard Kraxan battle formation, Commander Patel reported, her holographic image floating above the Hyperion's command deck. Exactly as their tactical doctrines dictate. They haven't learned yet. Dr. Chen's voice joined the briefing from her command center. Their ships are using the same shield frequencies we've already cracked. No adaptations, no improvements. Their pride won't let them believe they need to change. The Kraxan fleet was massive, thousands of ships strong, each one bristling with weapons that had subjugated countless civilizations. Under normal circumstances, such a force would have been insurmountable. But circumstances were far from normal. High Admiral Kexthor, brother of the fallen Supreme Commander, led the Retribution fleet with vengeance in his hearts. These humans will learn the price of defiance, he declared to his assembled commanders. We will burn their worlds until they beg for mercy. The first wave of Kraxan ships accelerated toward Earth, their quantum drives flaring. They expected to face the same primitive vessels they had dismissed for months. Instead, they found something very different waiting for them. Earth's orbital defense grid activated. Hundreds of satellites that had masqueraded as simple communication relays revealed their true nature. Quantum disruption fields sprang up across space, creating a maze of deadliness that the Kraxan ships flew right into. Their formation is breaking, Patel announced with cold satisfaction. Their ships are losing quantum drive coherence. Rodriguez watched as the first wave of Kraxan vessels struggled against human countermeasures. Deploy Phase 2. From behind Earth's moon, humanity's true fleet emerged. Not the small force that had struck the mining operations, but the full might of Earth's combined space forces. Ships that had been built in secret, incorporating every lesson learned from studying Kraxan technology. The battle that followed would be studied for generations. The Kraxan fleet, for all its size and power, found itself fighting an enemy that knew every weakness in their technology, every flaw in their tactics. Human ships struck with precision, their weapons perfectly calibrated to bypass Kraxan defenses. Dr. Tanaka's cyber warfare teams struck simultaneously, their quantum algorithms tearing through Kraxan command and control networks. Ships lost communication with each other. Targeting systems failed. Quantum drives stuttered and died. High Admiral Kexthor watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. Impossible, he whispered, echoing his brother's last words. We are the Kraxan Empire. We do not fall to primitives. Admiral Rodriguez's voice cut through all frequencies. You're right about one thing. You're not falling to primitives. You're falling to equals who you chose to underestimate. The price of that arrogance is about to come due. The Hyperion led Earth's counterattack, its advanced weapons cutting through Kraxan capital ships with devastating efficiency. Humanity's fighters demonstrated maneuvers that should have been impossible, exploiting weaknesses in Kraxan ship design that centuries of supremacy had left unaddressed. As the battle reached its crescendo, news arrived from across Kraxan space. Their other subject species, watching Earth's success, had begun to revolt. Centuries of oppression fueled uprisings on a dozen worlds. The empire that had stood for a millennium began to crack at its foundations. High Counselor Rezaneke received the reports with growing dread. Their mining fleets destroyed. Their retribution force in ruins. Their subject species in revolt. All because they had dismissed humanity as primitive and unworthy of respect. The price of arrogance was proving to be the empire itself. Send the signal, Rezaneke finally ordered, his crystalline eyes dimmed with defeat. Send it to all commands. The Kraxan Empire surrenders to Earth. Admiral Rodriguez received the surrender transmission with grim satisfaction. Humanity had not wanted this war, had not sought this victory. But they had prepared for it, had executed it with precision, and would now shape the peace that followed. The price of cracks and arrogance would reshape the galaxy. And at its center would stand humanity, no longer dismissed, no longer underestimated, but recognized for what they truly were, a force that had hidden its strength until the perfect moment to demonstrate it. 1 year after the Kraxan surrender, the Great Hall of Unity on Earth hosted representatives from 50 different species. The massive chamber, built from a fusion of human and alien architectural styles, symbolized the new era that was dawning. Where once the Kraxan Empire had ruled through force and arrogance, a new galactic order was taking shape. Dr. Sarah Chen, now Earth's Minister of Interstellar Technology, stood at her podium addressing the assembled delegates. The quantum matrices in the hall's walls hummed with translations in dozens of languages. The principles of the new galactic cooperative are simple, she declared. Knowledge shared, not hoarded. Technology advanced, not stagnated. Power balanced, not concentrated. These are the lessons we all learned from the fall of the Kraxan Empire. In the chamber's upper galleries, Admiral Rodriguez watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. The uniform he wore now bore the insignia of the newly formed Cooperative Defense Force, a joint military organization designed to protect all member worlds equally. The former Kraxan worlds had been transformed. Their colonies were now self-governing, their resources their own. The empire that had ruled them for centuries had been dissolved, replaced by individual member states in the new cooperative. The human response to our aggression was instructive. Former High Counselor Rezneke addressed the assembly. His once proud bearing was tempered now with hard-earned wisdom. We believed technology was a means of dominance. They showed us it was a tool for growth. We sought to suppress advancement. They proved the power of innovation. The changes went far beyond politics. Dr. Tanaka's quantum computing breakthroughs, combined with knowledge from a dozen species, had created new networks of communication and commerce. Commander Patel now led an interspecies academy, where pilots from all worlds shared their unique perspectives on space flight. But perhaps the most profound change was in attitude. The fall of the Kraxan Empire had demonstrated that no species held a monopoly on advancement. The humans had taken alien technology and improved upon it in ways its creators had never imagined, proving that innovation could come from anywhere. We stand at a crossroads, Ambassador Collins addressed the assembly. The old order of dominance and submission is ended. Before us lies a future of cooperation, of shared advancement, of mutual respect. Humanity did not fight the Kraxan Empire to become a new empire. We fought to ensure that no empire would ever again threaten the right of any species to grow, to advance, to reach their full potential. In orbit above Earth, the Hyperion floated among ships from dozens of worlds. Its hull still bore the scars from the final battle with the Kraxan fleet, preserved as a reminder. But its weapons were sealed, its quantum matrices now tuned for peace rather than war. The new cooperative faced challenges. Some former Kraxan allies refused to join. Centuries of imposed order had left scars that would take generations to heal. But the fundamental principle held: no species would ever again be dismissed as primitive, no civilization deemed unworthy of respect. As the assembly voted to ratify the cooperative's founding charter, Dr. Chen shared a knowing look with Admiral Rodriguez. They had achieved something greater than victory in war. They had catalyzed a transformation in how species viewed each other. The Kraxan Empire's greatest mistake, Rodriguez mused to her, wasn't underestimating our technology. It was underestimating our potential. And our greatest victory, Chen replied, wasn't defeating them. It was showing everyone, including ourselves, that the galaxy works better when we work together. The final vote was unanimous. As celebrations erupted across a dozen worlds, the message was clear: the age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun. In his private quarters that night, Rodriguez recorded one final entry in his war diary: "We gave them a warning, one they chose to ignore. But from that ignorance, from that arrogance, something remarkable has grown. They thought they were teaching us our place in the galaxy. Instead, we taught everyone that no species has the right to determine another's place. The future belongs to those who can look past their prejudices and see the potential in others." The stars shone differently now, not as distant territories to be conquered, but as shared spaces to be explored. Humanity had proven itself not just as a military power, but as an agent of change. The price of cracks and arrogance had been their empire, but the reward for human wisdom was a transformed galaxy. And in the vast chambers of the Great Hall of Unity, representatives of 50 species looked toward that future together, each understanding that true strength lies not in domination, but in the ability to recognize and respect the potential in others. The new order had begun.